Lieutenant Governor Phil Bryant is dedicated to efficiency and accountability in government. He's championed key initiatives to ensure accountability, including live webcasting of the Senate and the most comprehensive ethics reform in nearly 25 years. In 2009, he proposed a comprehensive overhaul of Mississippi's budget process. As Lieutenant Governor, he's worked to pass targeted tax cuts for small businesses, and his support of business and industry has helped Mississippi make great strides in economic development and job recruitment. He also shares one of my personal passions and many of yours, early childhood education, and is an issue that MEC will continue to pursue. Prior to being elected in 2007, he served as state auditor and is a former member of the Mississippi House of Representatives. A native Morehead, he earned his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Southern Mississippi and a master's degree in political science from Mississippi College. He and his wife, Deborah, have 2 children, Katie and Patrick. And he said he also worked early in his political career in my dad's campaign. So please help me welcome Lieutenant Governor Phil Bryant.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, thank you so much. I want to thank those of you that have had the courage and determination and wherewithal to sit through this and to still be there. Now, this is dedication, and I want to assure you that my remarks are going to be brief. As I say, I'm going to be brief no matter how long it takes. The mayor's absolutely right. When I was a young Republican, I was working on the Jack Reed campaign. We thought we had that one. It was so important to hear a man of vision. Now, he had a pretty good opponent, if I remember, and we barely lost that. But Jack Reed has meant so much to this state. William Winter was introduced a little while earlier, but I'm sorry that Jack is not here to take your accolades. But let's give Senior a hand, please. I was watching Lou Holtz the other day, and Lou Holtz said it's easy being a sports commentator. You just start talking until you think of something to say. And that's almost like a public speech, but I do have something to say. This morning I want to talk about our challenges, then our opportunities for leadership. Challenges. You know, we thought last year, people were saying this is going to be the most difficult budget year ever. This year is going to be worse than the one before and the worse than the one that you've had that. And this is the third one you've had to deal with. With this one, will really challenge you. And we were able to come through that. In fact, we adjourned on time. I adjourned the Senate 3 days early, if I remember correctly. And I thought, this is wonderful. We've reached our goal. We've done some important things here. And now it is time for us to let the people of the state of Mississippi know we were able to achieve those things within the allotted amount of time. And I hurried off to the Mississippi Gulf Coast for some events. And as I was there, I began to watch the Weather Channel on Saturday. And my BlackBerry lit up, and people were saying, you need to look at Yazoo County. And we quickly left the Gulf Coast and headed to Yazoo and Holmes County. An unbelievable disaster and challenge that we had there, 40 or 50 mile wide tornado that went across the midsection of Mississippi, some 100 miles. People's lives were lost. Destruction was unbelievable as I came up to that intersection there on Highway 49. And as I told people, I would describe it as Katrina without the water. Our governor had already been on the scene. There were tears in his eyes at his hometown's destruction. And it seemed like before we got through there helping and working on individuals' homes and assisting with MEMA, we started hearing about the storm in northeast Mississippi. And there was a tornado on Saturday night and a flood on Sunday, and 6 lives were lost there. And so we started trying to determine how do we get help and supplies and command and control in northeast Mississippi. And it was said earlier, and John's absolutely right, if you're going to have a disaster, there's no better governor to have it with than our Governor Haley Barbour. We've never wanted a disaster. We've never looked for one. Thank you. Give him a hand. But as it's been thrown upon us, Haley Barbour has done a remarkable job, and it has been my great fortune to be there by his side during so many of those challenges. So there we were in northeast Mississippi going through with the local county supervisors, MEMA, all of the command and control, Red Cross, Salvation Army that was being set up. And then we began to hear about the oil spill. Something had happened in the coast around April the 20th. There'd been an explosion and lives were lost, and they were saying, we think an oil rig has blown up, and try to get me information, I asked the staff, and pretty soon I knew this was going to be larger than we had imagined. And so then it was on to the Gulf Coast, and there was our governor again setting up, making sure that he understood what the situation were, what were the facts and circumstances, who's in control here. And I want to tell you, our state agencies, Marine Resources, DEQ, our National Guard that was on the scene, the state and local people, BP, did a phenomenal job. The response that we saw there was nothing short of remarkable. And the atmosphere of anxiety, and let me tell you, that's exactly what it was. The fear, the trepidation, the anxiety of the citizens that said, we're not sure what this is going to be like. We're not sure when the oil will rush onto our shores, what devastation it will be to our beloved Gulf Coast. But soon I realized these are people of determination. You don't live on the ocean all your life without being made of stern stuff. And so they began to face this problem as they had Katrina. Again, determination, valor, honor, loyalty, making sure that they were taking care of their business communities, oftentimes before their very own self-interest. You've got to love those people down there to see what they've gone through. Yes, we've had challenges, and we'll continue to do so. We're Mississippi. Have we ever had a time we didn't have these challenges? Have we ever had a time where we said everything's great, not a problem in the world? We're just on easy street here in Mississippi. We're used to taking these on, but those are the opportunities for leadership. You've heard about the budget. The governor spoke very plainly about it. Now, I often remember when years ago, 3 years ago, when I came in as lieutenant governor and I began to hear from the governor's staff, we need to fill the rainy day fund. We need to be very careful because there's some hard times ahead. And some people scoffed at that. Oh, no, they said, we can't set aside 2% of the revenue. We need to spend it all. It's raining now. This was in 2008. And then the next year they said, okay, you fill the rainy day fund, but we need to spend most of it already because it's beginning to storm. And, you know, we've got to use those revenues or people are going to be in real difficult situations. And we said there's got to be some moderation. We've got to have some determination. Again, that word of saying we're not going to spend all the money in our rainy day fund, not now or into the future. Now here we are. And what I believe is the most difficult physical challenge we will have, the worst budget year. And my term as lieutenant governor, you've heard the governor say it, some $400 million to $500 million shortage because of that stimulus funds that go away. As everyone was celebrating those stimulus funds, we began to see them deteriorate, and we said we're going to go off the cliff in January of 12. That money's going to be gone. We're going to have a $500 million deficit. Oh, they said we've got to spend all the rainy day fund, all the health care trust fund. We've got to do all that we can do. There's $100 million out there. They said last year we need to spend every penny of it. Well, we didn't. We showed restraint. And so now, this year, I'm proud to say, we've still got that $155 million in that rainy day fund. We're going to need it. I don't think we ought to spend all of it. Half of it ought to do now because I hate to tell you, but this is not over. I think we're going to have another year of these great challenges, but now opportunity for leadership. We move forward about $126 million with the House of Representatives' help from last year to this year's FY budget. So we're going to have that. We do have some money in the Health Care Trust Fund, about $88 million. There's going to be some revenue that will be moved forward from this fiscal year. I estimate we've got about $204 million. Now, a lot of it's one-time money. So we've got to be careful. What got us in trouble in the past is having reoccurring expenses and spending one-time money to do it. And then we always ran up and said, now, where are we going to get it from next year? Where are we going to get it from next year? So we're going to show restraint. We're going to hope that we put in a good budget act. I want to thank the MEC. Blake Wilson and the guys stood up and said, Phil's idea and the Senate's idea of a smart budget act based on performances, based on outcomes. That if we're going to give you money, they're attached to a strategic plan, and we know what that money is going to be spent for, and we're going to target the outcome, and we're going to make sure that you're moving along that path of success before we continue to fund it. It's called a Smart Budget Act, performance-based budgeting. We talked about it. We sold it to the Senate. We got a 51-to-1 vote. 51-to-1 in the Senate. It passed unanimously and unfortunately never came out of the House committee. I'm telling you, this will change everything. You know how we get power in the legislature? We manipulate the budget. We massage it. We say if we like you as a director and you do what we tell you to do, we'll give you money. Now, I'm telling you things folks don't want me to tell you, but I'm just going to tell it. And if you don't do what we say, if you're a director that I particularly don't like, maybe you're in a different situation, and I can cut your budget. I can threaten you by cutting in your budget. Don't do what I say. I'm a powerful member of the legislature. I'm lieutenant governor. You better do exactly what I say. That's no way to manage a budget, ladies and gentlemen. It should be on outcome. It should be on performances. It should be managed like you manage your business. You're going to see another smart budget. We're going to pass it again. We believe it'll pass the Senate unanimously. We believe it'll go to the House, and I'm hoping they'll take it up. Give us a vote on the House floor. That's all I ask for. Let that opportunity come forward for the House members to say, we believe it's time for a change in this antiquated line item budget system that's been manipulated for so long. We can do this. You heard earlier about childhood education. We've got a great meeting that occurred a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago now, as we put a commission together on early childhood opportunities in education in this state. And I think at some form, MEC's done a great job. And we're going to have to look to the future. How successful will it be? Can we capture real numbers that will show the success of that program? That's what we've asked MEC to go out and do and show us so we can go to our constituents and say, absolutely, it's working. Now, a lot of my dear friends say parents ought to be responsible for that. Oh, yes, I pray. I wish they would. Too many parents in this society, in this state, have abandoned that responsibility. It's just not going to take place if we don't figure out how to do it. Now, churches have been doing a marvelous job in their daycare. Other private organizations have done the same. If we can get that type of result, if we can take the best daycare system and emulate that around the state, wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't that be something for us to try to achieve in the future? So I think you're going to see that opportunity. Yes, everybody talks about immigration. I want to thank the companies across this state. We put in a system called E-Verify, and it's increased the use by 70%. Now, I know it's not perfect. I don't think many things that come out of that legislature will ever be perfect, but E-Verify is a free system provided to you by Homeland Security that is saying if you'll use it, we can tell you whether or not that employee is applying for a job is an American citizen or not. I don't believe that's too much to ask. You're going to see some other work on that because we just believe in the rule of law. It's not antiquated. It's not old. We just believe that if you come here to this country, if you cross our border, you ought to do so legally. I'm sorry if that's a bad thing, but that's just the way I feel about that. And we're going to continue to work hard on it. You've heard education. Thank you so much. You've heard education mentioned, and we need to make sure that we help all that we can. I know an educated workforce is so important, as the governor said, as I drive around this state, and I hope you see some of my video updates, because I'm there at Kiora, I'm there at Toyota, I'm there around the state at Twin Creeks, and seeing these great businesses. I was in Tunica the other day. It's a Schultz plant. It'll do your heart good to see what we're doing in the state of Mississippi, and I believe those are going to be brought forward. Those revenues are going to enhance this next budget. But I can tell you there is no appetite with the public for a tax increase. Do what I do, go throughout the state, attend some tea parties, go and talk to some Rotary clubs. Now is not the time, they believe, nor do I, to raise anybody's taxes. It's going to be a tough year, but we've got to make it with discipline and restraint and determination. We've got to empower the free market. This has got to be the most job-friendly state in America. So that if we want to go to California, to the top 20 countries, and say we can make you an opportunity in Mississippi that you'd never enjoy here. I don't want to pick on California, but I bet if I went to the top 20 companies there and showed them the environment that we've helped create here in the state of Mississippi with our targeted tax cuts, with our good legal system, with the hard work that MEC has done, with what community colleges has been able to do in workforce development, some of those companies would say, I'm coming to Mississippi. I want to be a part of that. That's what we're going to do in the future. We have great challenges ahead, but we have great opportunities for leadership. And I enjoy being a part of it. These senators that I've worked with and the House members, we don't always agree, but we do agree that it is time that we continue to work hard together, putting our partisan bickering aside, rising above our own self-political interests, and make sure we're moving Mississippi forward. And that's my promise to you. Now, I know I'm the only thing sitting between you and some catfish, so I'm going to get out of here. My favorite president, Ronald Reagan, said, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We must preserve this great republic, or we will condemn our children to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. And ladies and gentlemen, with your help, we will make sure that no Mississippi child ever takes that first step into the darkness. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you, Blake and MEC.